Hi, I'm Martin, and I have a big problem. This is the pile. As you can see, I buy way too many anime models, and I gotta get these guys out of their boxes. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna open all these boxes just for you. Welcome to Cape Frenzy. You ever hear that saying that if you cross the path of a black cat, it's bad luck? Well, hopefully, this black cat will bring me luck. Let's get her open. So this one comes to us from Ami again. As I mentioned before, all the figures I usually pick up come from Ami because they usually have the best prices, and their point system's not too bad either. I've been super excited for this one because Black Cat is one of my favorite girls. Whoop. There we go. They didn't send a postcard this time. I'm sad. Wait, they did! 2021! Woo! This one's a bit longer than the last one I had, so that's pretty fun. Alright, so let's talk about the box. Whoop! The box is pretty clean. It's white, it's pink, it's purple, it's got the nice pink giant background. It has a window on the front. It has a window on the left. It has a window on top. Does it have a window on the right? No, it does not! For retail purposes, they actually have put on an inscription on the side of the box right here. I'm going to read that to you right now so I can explain to you what the Bishoujo line is. Bishoujo, by the way, means beautiful women in Japanese. Based on art by famous illustrator Shunya Yamashita, the series aims to provide figures inspired by Japanese art to fans throughout the world. With over 10 years of history since release of the first Bishoujo statue in 2009. Countless characters, games, movies, comics, and more have joined the series. Keep an eye out for more exciting additions to the ever-expanding Bishoujo world. On the one part, it's cool that they tell you what this is made from and what it's from, but on the other hand, this is kind of messy on the side here. Maybe have it on the back, like here, or maybe on the bottom. The bottom would be nice. But I guess for retail purposes, having it on the side is okay. Maybe have it on, oh actually it's already on the bottom. Why did they put it here when it's already right there on the bottom of the box? That's wacky. The box looks nice and all, but I'm personally not a fan of the line, and then the line, and then the line. I don't know, they kind of take away from the feel of the box for me. I think the box will probably get 8 out of 10 for me. Alright, let's get her out of the box and move on to packaging. So the packaging, so far, from what I just felt, is not bad. It's got tape on the front. Oh, it's got tape on the left, and probably tape on the right. Alright. These Kotobukiya boxes are always pretty well done. They've been in the game long enough to know that these figures are pretty easy to package. And oh, I should also mention before I move on, you can see here that there's actually these like action comic lines on the box. So that's pretty cool, I like that. Alright, so this figure is 2 pieces of plastic put together. There is a wire across her waist or thigh that goes from the back. And there's some plastic on the bottom of her hair. And there's some plastic around her feet to protect her feet from clashing against the plastic. And that's pretty much it. These Kotobukiya models also tend to have a face window, which you'll see right there. You can see up close. This figure is meant to do that so that you can see into the box. Packaging wise, it's pretty plain. I'm gonna get this off. Get this wire off. Unlike Cheryl's model, this one only has 1 wire and it's very visible and easy to access, so that's a plus. Packaging is pretty nice that way, just so if she does fall out of the box somehow, then she's protected by this wire. Let's get that out. Then we're gonna open her up from the front. Wait, is there tape on the... Oh, and there's also tape on the sides. So an extra layer of security, which is good. Alright, so that's 1 layer off. Then we have Felicia. So there's 1 on her leg. And there's 1 up here. There's one on the side as well. And there's one on her arm. Oh, it's like a piece of tape. Oh, her base is covered by this piece of plastic. That face window being open means that if it were to get pierced during shipping or whatever, then it could have like punctured her face because it's not protected at all. Packaging wise, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. It's pretty well designed. So for her base, it's pretty simple. This is the base. It's a bunch of diamonds. It's a very unique base. It has this hole here where her foot goes into. You can see here that there's a little stomper for her to sit on. So she will just sit like so. You just put it in and that's it. That's all there is to the base. Now let's move on and talk about the sculpt and the paint job. Oh, but wait, it's nighttime now. You know what that means? It's time for some crime. Welcome to crime time! Alright, so let's talk about this figure's stats. I can't see out of this. This figure comes to us from Kotobukiya, a well-known anime company. This figure stands at 10 inches, which is in the 1/7 scale. The figure itself has a very small base, and it's 3 inches in width and 2.5 inches in length. The figure was released in 2020, but got delayed to 2021 for some people, and the cost overall was $181.66 Canadian. The figure itself is made of PVC and ABS. Black Cat's design is iconic. There's been many changes throughout the years to change up her design, but the retro design is still my favorite. The original design came in 1979 in Spider-Man 194. Do you know how I know that? Well, that's because I actually own The Amazing Spider-Man 194, the first appearance of Black Cat. This is one of my most treasured items. I love Black Cat. I've been a big fan of her ever since I first saw her in the Spider-Man cartoon in like 1996 or 94. She's just been one of my go-to Marvel characters for the past decade, or even 2 decades at this point. With this figure, I love everything about her. There's a lot of interesting things going on with her skull. Kotobukiya and Shunya have got down the Bishoujo face. All the Bishoujo models look fairly similar, like these. See what I mean? The Bishoujo line is meant to be a safe line that you can purchase at a pretty good price point. Most Kotobukiya models range from like $20 for like the really small things to like $400 for the humongo models. The Bishoujo line is sitting in that sweet spot about $100 where it's kind of more expensive but still affordable if you save up enough, like once a month for one. The models themselves may have similar faces, but there's a couple of differences on each model which sets them apart. For Black Cat, that's her mask. Her mask is really cool. It has this cool 3D texture to it, and it looks more weighted opposed to like the comic look, for instance, where it's just a 2D mask that's kind of on her face. The 3D weight of it makes it look a lot better and adds to the whole facial appeal of this figure. The eyes are very nice. They're a nice blue color. The hair, oh my god, the hair. The hair is so pretty. I love the hair on this figure. It's the first thing that drew my eye to her. Black Cat's feature is her platinum blonde hair. It's the first thing I think of when I think Black Cat. They did a great job on it. The volume of her hair makes her waddle look very voluptuous, and it's so huge. It's like old 80s hair where there's so much weight to that hair. Black Cat also has a couple of different powers to help her out, which you can just see displayed in her hand. She has her giant nails. Her nails used to be extendable and they are part of her power set, but then at one point she like lost her powers, got like a technical suit to get them back, so she has these extendable fingernails, which doesn't sound like it'd be that painful, but I mean, if you were to scratch yourself with some nails, like you could hurt someone with your nails, you know? Like, you've seen people scratch people, I mean, like, meow, right? The jewelry is pretty okay too. It could be better. It doesn't look as realistic. I wish they were real chains. They are kind of a more flimsy plastic, which I can show you, like they kind of move around. But then I realized that if they were real chains, then her body would be very unbalanced because there'd be additional weight on the model. So making a plastic maybe was a smarter move. But I guess that would also raise the price. For the paint on the jewelry is okay. It doesn't look realistic, but it's good enough. It could be a lot better. It looks very cheap. It's like the generic design you see on like all sorts of action figures, and you know, that's okay, especially because your eyes are basically drawn from her face to her arms because they're going like this. They're a bit more prominent because of that. If she was holding maybe her side, but you look at this part of the model because that's what your eyes are first drawn to. It will probably lose some points on paint and sculpt because of that for me. The body though, the body's good. The body's great. I love the body. It's very well balanced. There's not too many portions that are like too big, too long. I want to say this, in art form, it's a very nice portioned body. You don't have to have a perfect body. This body is what I would consider a perfect body for an anime model because it's very well balanced from torso, leg, foot, arm, head size, hair size. Everything is well balanced in this figure, and I don't mean like in real life. I mean in anime style, this is fairly well balanced. As for the figure's suit, it's pretty good. It's got zipper, it has the fur. The fur is fabulous. They took as much care in the fur, just like her hair. It really has a lot of movement going on. For the suit itself, it's a very simple design. It's a black cat suit. Get it, cat suit. The suit has some flecks of gray paint in the front, which makes it look like her body is pressed up against the latex inside, so the latex is a little see-through, which is a nice touch. I like the idea of making the latex look more realistic by adding a different tone into the latex. I do like the fact that it looks like it's pressed against the body, but I also wanted it to be a bit more black and less gray, so for me it will probably lose some points. The boots are really clean white. There's a little bit of gray for shading and the slightest hint of blue to make it look like a realistic boot. There is a lot of texture in the boot too. There's lots of folds. As for the base, so the base is where I'm having an issue. When I was initially putting this model down, the base is good, but on a slightly uneven surface, it will definitely fall over. The weight of the figure, as I mentioned before, is actually what's holding her down. I wish that the plastic here was a bit more solid, but again, that would probably rise in production costs. So it's kind of like, do you want a nice shiny base or do you want something heavier that might cost more? I would honestly prefer a heavier base just for safety reasons, because I could see any sort of like shaking near the model that would probably knock her over, which is very dangerous with this one. Also, the base had some like scratches on it. The scratches are like on the surface face of the diamond. Sculpt wise, I think this deserves an 8 out of 10. As for paint wise, this figure will lose some points because of the jewelry. The jewelry is not designed as well, and when your eyes are drawn to this area, you just don't really get that good appeal out of the figure. So 8 out of 10 for the figure, mainly because of the jewelry and slightly because of my bias toward the latex. Alright, now we reach the final appeal score of this figure, and to do this, I'm going to do something slightly different this time around. The final thing I'm going to talk about is her comparison appeal to the original Black Cat Bishoujo from 2011. This figure was created 10 years ago, and you can actually see the major difference in design philosophy. If you look at the older Bishoujos, you'll see that they're actually a lot more youthful looking, while the newer Bishoujos actually look a bit more mature, and I really like the idea that they've been slowly maturing their figures. So with the Bishoujo line, I've noticed that in the older days, Bishoujos were a bit more youthful looking, while the newer ones seem to be a bit more mature, and that's probably partially due to the fact that Japan's fandoms have changed over time. Back in the 2006-2011 era, there was a growth of what Japan calls moe moe. Moe moe means super cute girls, so it's like the girls with the big chubby cheeks, all the little squishable like faces. After that whole boom, it kind of went downhill from there. A lot of people said it actually ruined the anime industry, and now designs have gone back to being more mature like they were in the 90s. Kind of worked in Black Cat's favor because she's from a very long time ago. You can see right off the bat that the original Black Cat had more blue in her hair. You can see it right there. There's so much more blue in her hair, and even the whites are more bluish, while the newer Black Cat is more pearly in design. This black cat also has a more dynamic pose where she is jumping out of a window and she's like stealing something, which I can show you here, which is this heart in her hand. It's kind of funny because they're both called Black Cat Steals a Heart, and this one has a heart in her hand, but this one does not. So I don't know why this one's called Steals a Heart. Maybe because it's stealing your heart? But this one is like a literal, it stole a heart. The base-wise, this figure is better. I don't know what it is with Black Cat, but they like to put her on one leg. Design-wise, this one's kind of more ingenious because it's only on one leg. There's no support, so it's been balanced so that it can do that. While this one needed support because of its dynamic pose. I think overall, appeal-wise, like, I like the newer version a lot more. This youthful version is really nice, but this newer version is a much more akin to her comic book look. I think this one's even more anime than this one is. This Black Cat is definitely a lot more leaner, while this one looks a bit more muscular, and Black Cat is a very agile character, and you would want her to have more muscle, and I think this one kind of shows that more than this one. This one seems like she might be a little bit more frail. This one's a bit more like meaty. As for the face, this one also has that flat mask I was mentioning, while this one does not. This one is much better than the older one. The older one now goes for like $500 to like $1,000. It's kind of nuts. Well, this one's already risen in price to like $300. These Bishoujos, they are done in limited runs because they do come out and they sell out much faster than most other models because they're well-known properties. But I think there's been a Bishoujo downturn in terms of people buying them because I think people are just getting a little bit tired of the design. I think I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10 for the final appeal score of the figure. Kotobukiya's Black Cat gets a final score of 80%. If you're already a Marvel fan, then you probably already have your eye on these. If you're getting one, probably not this one, probably go for the newer one. This one's more readily available, while this one will send you down eBay hell to look for it. Well, that does it for Cape Frenzy this week. If you want to watch more, then check out the links right after the message. And I can get this damn wig off. Haha! Bye! How the fuck do you put this on again?